te aterriza en lugar de la estampilla pa' que comas tu comida. También de la milicia con ventajas exquisitas, con guerras infinitas, con rutinas dominantes. Esto es de la frontera, te lo suelto en ambas partes.
Del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos. De regreso por el puente Zaragoza, es que en mi Juárez la vida sí que se goza. En los antros, en los bares, en los billares, en donde quiera que te pares. Empezamos party cuando cae el sol, seguimos after hasta que amaneció.
Pues sabe qué, yo apañé el rufo y en Los B y me descolgué pa' Juariles, ¿sabe? Quedé de jarioso y me fui a un rest, ¿sabe? Y me pregunta una ruca que si que quiero de rep y le digo yo, esa, pues tráigame unas de lámina con unos de cemento. Pues escamó de abute la ruca y le llamó la jura, pues centavicaron. En Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, frontera del Paso, Texas, se encontraron dos carnales encerrados tras la reja.
Bajo el manto más hermoso, las estrellas, es mi frontera bella, Juárez, ciudad de las bajas pasiones. Sé que muchos ya no tienen pantalones para pisar tu suelo, porque dicen que es como un anzuelo, pero mi consuelo es saber, existe gente con el anhelo de crecer, no perecer, sin antes dejar una historia. Del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos. De regreso por el puente Zaragoza, fumándome uno de la pestosa. Ya sabes cómo es la cosa con este choro. Fin de semana, entre municipales, federales, judiciales, soldados y una lista de ejecutados viernes. En la frontera norte otra vez, asistiendo con mis carnales.
And much more to come to fruition. As my partner in this project, he extends her welcome as well. Although many of CoCA's exhibitions can be seen as representing a point in time, they are also often tied to larger issues that go beyond the necessarily limited bounds of a gallery exhibition. I try to use the publications that accompany these shows to put these exhibitions in context and to broaden the discussion of the subject matter surfaced or initiated by them. An exhibition is rarely the whole story. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I plan to use these interviews to give curators and artists a chance to bring more of the story to light and to update us on any progress that may have been made or losses that may have been sustained. This month, we're looking at JáurezX, Drag Beyond Borders, co-curated by my guests today, Peter Bill and Joe Roberts. The issues that they delved into have not gone away in the last 4 years since the exhibition was mounted. If anything, they have become more heated. A topic of national discussion and concern. Let's meet our first guest, Joe Roberts. Yeah, Joe. We can probably see Joe and see that he's talking, but I'll take this opportunity to warn you that this that this technical aspects of the show may be fraught with various problems. We have been testing over the last 2 nights, and we've got both negative and positive results. But why don't we, John? Why don't you see if you can get Joe there? In the meantime, let's bring on Peter Bill. Let's bring Bill. Yeah, Peter, you're going to be on next. An educator and photographer and teacher. He gave us his credentials, but Joe was going to introduce him, so I'll let him introduce himself. Peter, we lost Peter. Oh, there we go. There he is.
I'm back. I'm joining you from Žižkov in the Czech Republic. We seem to be bouncing around the interwebs. bouncing back and forth. I've
All
been
right.
to Jupiter and back. So
There we
the-
go. Yeah.
the previous empty airspace.
Yeah.
Um,
So Peter, finish the introduction. You're what are you teaching these days?
oh, so I'm teaching at Olympic College in Bremerton, doing photography, multimedia, and we're just setting up a drone photography program that's gonna, I think, be very popular. And so we're setting up. I'm getting cones. I'm getting obstacle courses set up.
Wow.
We have these, FPV drones that we're going to be flying around, and some pro drones for various things. And so that's going to be really fun. And so yeah, keeping busy and building tree houses and hanging out Kitsap style.
All right. Well, it's a long way from art in Juarez. So
Yes.
why don't you tell us a little bit about how this all came about? How did we end up with a show of art from Juarez, Mexico, at Center on Contemporary Art in Seattle?
Well, I was living in New Mexico at the time, and I wanted to go visit Ciudad Juarez. I'd read the book by Buñuel 2666, which is this vortex of a novel whose center is Ciudad Juarez, and I wanted to go there and check it out. And after a convoluted series of misadventures, I connected with a group of awesome street artists in Ciudad Juarez through my friend Betts Frontera and Yorch and Mario Romero and Pozo ANS. And I started hanging out with these guys and making art with them and filming them as they made art. And I was flying drones then on the border. And eventually I collected enough art to bring it back first to the school I was teaching at in New Mexico. And then I connected with Joe and with you, and we brought the show up to Seattle.
Right. Well, we have one of those artists with us tonight, and be a good idea maybe to bring him into the conversation. We have Melo Garcia. Could we get Melo on the screen with us, John? Okay, Melo. Good to see you
Hello,
again.
good night. Can you hear me? Hello, I'm Melo. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So,
hello.
what do you think of when Peter Bill showed up in your town? We can hear you.
Yeah. So it was crazy because I know somebody was like taking footage in the city that he was going to our places. Like, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
can hear you.
Oh yeah. So, but I didn't know who he was, and so, I saw a video that he took in the underground. This is the under downstairs in Ciudad Juarez. It's a abandoned place that we took and do like a
Yeah.
street
As a matter
gallery.
of fact, while you do that, oh no, go ahead.
Sure.
Don't put Melo's art up yet. Let's just wait. Let's wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Cement places, but it was abandoned, and all of like the freaky junkies and crazy people were living down there sometimes. But then the graffiti kids started going down there and covering the walls with beautiful murals. So it was like this graffiti Sistine Chapel, but it's a really intense place. I guess maybe they've built it out a little bit now. Maybe it's safer. But when I first went there, it was like going into this crypt because it was downstairs. These cement staircases going into this crypt.
Did Melo was that where Melo's work that we had in the show was from?
Yes, some of the photographs.
Why don't we, John, we're going to get some of those up on the screen. Well, maybe we'll get Melo to talk about those a little bit because we can get him on with the art. So we got that up and running. So Mello, tell us about this artwork that
Yes,
Peter's talking about.
yeah, so I have an example right here. This is from a show here in the border.
Yeah.
And I have some of that work.
Yeah, we're showing the.
Oh, okay.
So they can see it.
I don't know what. Okay. Well, so this series of work in 20 places because here in Juarez we have a lot of these places that Peter is talking about, and it's because of the violence and the segregation that it's been happening in Ciudad Juarez like forever, and somehow we got to escape a space for us and spaces that we can go and have fun without being. And now some of these places are becoming like mainstream, like lots of people goes and takes pictures there, live there, and much of the time we go and help them, like give them food, give them clothes, stuff like that.
Yeah. John, let's bring everybody back.
With art.
No, I was just
Sorry?
asking John, a producer, to bring everybody back on screen so they can comment if they want to. So are you saying that you saying that these places have changed quite a bit since 2017?
Yeah, totally. Because we make them visible, so then the authorities have to go and clean the places or
Well, that's
rebuild the
great.
places.
Joe wrote about this in the catalog. He talked about how the fact that we tend to think of a lot of times of street art as sort of sometimes not being a positive influence on a place. We think of that as being a sign of urban blight. But in this situation, Joe mentioned that it was likely that your art was a forebearer of good things to come, that it was a re-recognition, a taking back of those places, or a capturing of those places. And it sounds like this has happened, that they've changed.
Yeah, because Ciudad Juarez, it's always been like it's a rough place. So with the violence and all the problems that we have, the city has turned ugly. So as artists or graffiti writers, we can go and destroy the city like in other places. Like that's the mission of graffiti and some street activities. But here we took like the power of nobody was doing something about these problems. So we noticed that with art we can approach people and make a difference because they won't listen to authorities, but they will listen to us.
How is life on the streets in Juarez now? How does it feel compared to 5 years ago when I was down there? No.
Well, when you were here, things were more violent, more out of control, and I mean, today is not so different, but people is like starting to. We have to do our life, and we have to retake the places that somebody took us from, and we don't mess with the bad guys, Like if you're in Juarez and you are like a thug, or you know that you're in trouble, like making trouble, you're gonna get killed or you're gonna get arrested or something like that. So we we know that, and we just took another approach to all this situation, and we battle it with art and with community activities. Like the one of the recent projects is that we are building a graffiti park, and we're building a skate park. And now that we did the ramps and some of the installation, that now the politicians are coming and they're giving us money so we can build it bigger, because they know, they saw the example that we are giving them,
Well, you know, there's a lot of,
and they see how
yeah. I
people
mean, the border is a big
sorry?
subject matter here in the U.S., of course, especially during the last presidential regime. So I guess my question is, how much does that affect
Okay.
you, as opposed to you're just taking matter into your own hands? It sounds like you're not paying a lot of attention to what's going on in American politics.
About immigration or the border issue, well, that's another problem, because first, um, we had all these people deported, and they will stay here in the border, but not much of these people won't have houses, won't have money. So now we're facing that problem that these people and uh, are like, how you say, they're going into crime. So we have more robberies. Uh, we have the police are watching more strong than before, because they know there's people in the city that don't belong here, and they just come here, do something bad, and go to United States, or they go
Yeah.
back to Central America. So for us, some of these places that, like the border, Peterbilt have some photos of there and some art. I think that was on the show. And this place now is full of military presence, and we can go and paint like before. So it's weird. It's weird. Like we can even go across the border now
Hmm.
because of the COVID, and so there's a variety of problems that we face as border people.
Yeah, so it does sound like that's a change. You know, Peter did a video with a lot of the artists. Sarita has a quote in the beginning of that where she talks about the fact that Juarez is neither in the U.S. or in Mexico. It's a sort of a no man's land. It sounds like that's maybe a little more definitive right now, with the border being more of a problem. Yes, I can hear you, Joe. You're good. Great.
Yes.
You've got 30 seconds, Joe, before your
Yeah.
audio goes out.
So first of all, Melo, you were referring to somebody coming in and working on a skate park. And I'm curious, were you referring to Minos from Mexico City? Melo, can you hear me?
Uh, yeah. Can you repeat that? Didn't listen now.
Well, anyway, from Mexico City.
The volume on.
But so let me ask you. Let me jump to a question which interests me, and it might go to the core of the question. Why did we do this project? And where does it lead? Is it still relevant today, et cetera? One aspect that interested me a great deal was the question whether graffiti is art, or whether it was some form of just urban expression, some form of urban newspaper, if you will. I was particularly interested in Hector
Yeah.
Dominguez's comments, referring to graffiti as essentially the skin of the city. And I just wonder whether
Well,
Mello could go ahead, Mello. Do you refer to yourself as an artist
sure.
or a graffiti guy? And
Yeah.
what's the difference between graffiti and urban art?
Yeah, it's like this deal. It's forever. Like, are you an artist or a graffiti writer? So graffiti is not art, and it will never be, because there is in graffiti, and it doesn't matter if you have form, shape, or color. Like, you just have to destroy the place. And art, you have like this intention of making the, like, expressing the feeling. In Juarez, we use the graffiti and then turn it to street art because it was more acceptable by the people. Like, we started to put stickers or do posters and design instead of just graffiti and like territorial graffiti. So then we we knew that it was better for us. You want to have like permission to paint here and don't get in trouble. So I learned that in the bad way, and now we have more places open for us because the approach we had with the people, and our our projects became like from vandalism to something like community service. So now murals work for us just like a form for approaching the people in the barrios. And why? Because all the barrios are yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mello. I can't hear Joe.
It seems as though, Joe, your time has expired once again.
I want to talk about graffiti in relationship to art. That's what Mello was talking about. So if you look at the tradition of Western painting in a European context, it was a painting. And it arose in the Netherlands hand in hand with capitalism. And graffiti, traditional graffiti, what Mello's talking about, vandalism, putting a tag up on a building is sort of a direct affront to property. And so this is why it's so controversial, because in our country, the one right, the essential, important, the one thing, forget the 10 Commandments, is property. That's all this country, the United States of America, really cares about is property and who owns what. And by subverting property, by throwing your tag up, the powerless become empowered and the system is subverted. And that's why it's so controversial. And so if you take this then and it becomes this art form and it becomes this mural culture and this painting culture, which I think is so strong in Ciudad Juarez and so impressive. And I think in all of Mexico, painting, just painting qua painting, is so essential and so central to the culture. I found it very refreshing. This is one of the reasons I was so excited to go down there is because for my street art friends, but for the culture at large, murals, Diego Rivera, are so important and so central to the cultural expression.
With that proposition that the murals are central to the culture. The question that's interesting, though, as it relates to graffiti, though, is does permission eviscerate its authenticity?
Yeah, exactly. Well put.
Or does it do the opposite, Joe?
If you have
Does it turn it into art?
It's not graffiti anymore. It's not graffiti. If you have permission, it's not graffiti. You can call it
Mello is
an
purist.
illustration or a draw or
Right.
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
true.
for sure. I will
But-
never turn graffiti into art because
Yeah.
it's not.
So maybe
Mello,
this is why Banksy is so powerful, because he
But-
doesn't get permission and he
Well,
does his
yeah.
stuff.
But also, you know, again, I refer back.
I mean, I'm the only.
Go ahead, Mello.
I'm the only person in Ciudad Juárez that have a city-wide permission to paint all the city. I'm the only one that has it, but I do graffiti, like real graffiti, but I do have the permission of the government to just ask whatever place I want to paint, and they will give me. And I have the document because I know how to like to how you say.
The system.
I have to destroy the system from the insides, you know.
But Mello, so another comment that your colleague Hector Dominguez made, which interested me, was as to the intersection between graffiti art and essentially urban art, which is artwork done in urban areas by permission. He made an analogy to hip hop and the way in which it initially was very much outsider art in a music context, and then it became essentially accepted into a more mainstream environment. And I wonder whether that's what's going on with the graffiti. And another question related to that is, how do you guys on the streets of Juarez think of people like the Samo, you know, like Jean-Michel Bastia or his colleagues, you know, that essentially were making marks on city walls and then started penetrating mainstream art? Do you think those guys are interesting, or are they horrors?
Like sellouts, right? But no, I think you can turn graffiti into money, so that's no problem. The
That's an
other
art.
thing that I mean, it's all about the intention and the meeting point of graffiti and urban art for me is the community service that I can provide to abandoned place or people that are on the shade. You know, like we have a lot of problems in Juarez, and the only way that we can make it front is like with art, because we can even have get money from government and then put it into the hoods in form of art, and people will appropriate these places. And I don't know, it's sometimes the money won't even matter, you know. But if you can get like millions of dollars of from doing graffiti like Basquiat and that people, I mean, that's great. They made it. But the art may turn into something like mainstream or something industrial like Warhol, like producing like in much larger quantity. So it depends on how real you want to keep it.
Bill, let me ask you a different question, Melo. Do you consider graffiti art that is essentially tangible work, or is it more of a performance art?
Well, the thing about graffiti is that it's supposed to be ephemeris. Like when you do it, you don't expect it to like be there forever, and there's where you gain respect from other people, and they won't delay your art. And there's some. It's like a game. Graffiti. It's like a game that you have to like gain respect and never go mainstream. That's like the whole point of real graffiti. But when you when you like a person or like an artist, you you know that you can do something better with that graffiti and not only destroy the property like Peter was saying. Something comes in your mind and just try to do something better. I don't know, maybe it's some kind of wise thinking because of
Melo, related to the idea of doing something better, is there, I mean, you talk about to be real graffiti, you have to do certain things. It's as though there are rules. And I'm curious what those rules are. As well, I'm wondering whether there's an aspect of graffiti artists working with one another where one of the goals is to overpaint what the other guy did.
yeah, yeah, like simple graffiti is about simple rules. Um, I mean, number one, get up. You need to be all like your tag needs to be all in the city, all citywide. And the more tags you have more territory for like for your gang. And another rule is like if there's a mural or a tag or something and you want to paint over it, you have to do it better always. And if you don't do it better than that, you will become like a toy, and that will lower your respect in the graffiti game. And the more style you have, the more tags you have, the higher places you go, and you have to stay on top in the graffiti game, like cover all.
You mean literally higher?
Yeah, yeah, higher.
That's the performative
Yeah,
aspect.
like
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, the other thing you
How
were
crazy,
saying that
what the
is,
crazy place can you put
yeah,
the
you
tag
can do it. You can call it more.
So do you always,
I could totally say.
so but Milo, do you
Sorry.
always um, essentially sign your tags? I mean, fundamentally, a tag would be your signature. In other words, you tell the barrio, I was the guy that did this. And if so, are you putting yourself at
Yeah,
risk?
yeah, totally. Because like myself, I you know my little tag with the
Mm-hmm.
face. Uh, that was my tag, like my tag in graffiti game, right? And I will put this tag everywhere. But when I start to do projects with the government and all the stuff, I can like today I can go and paint my tag because it's already known. So people already know where I live. The government knows where I live. So I have become like a trader in my own game, you know. But I don't really care because I've been doing some stuff, some good stuff for my body in the city. So it's weird. It's weird. You have to go like
So,
a
so,
little mainstream,
so,
and people will.
but back up. You say the government knows where you live, and so does everyone in the city, the other gangs. So, you know, that
Yeah,
that that would be in mountaineering terms exposure, which is risky. And I wonder, so is that what? Do you
yeah.
guys all know where everyone lives? And so if you do some graffiti work that might
No, not really.
not really well.
No, this is just. I think it's just my case because of the art aspect of the things I do. Um, but if you really want to, I mean, I don't get in trouble because I can get in trouble, like, and I won't get in trouble because in Juarez you're gonna get killed. Like you do just for you're gonna get killed in Juarez. It's not like other places that you get in the fight, like fist fight. Uh, it's not like that. In Juarez, you're gonna get I don't know, stalk. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everyone's have a gun or like a friend that is a narco and or a family member that is a narco or we all know narcos, you know. So you can really mess around here. Like the graffiti I do now. Some people uh, will get mad at me because I have permission. It's like I'm not that's not allowed in the graffiti game, you know. So it's weird, but I do it like that, and I have nice response from people, and I have haters all the way. It's weird, man.
Well, it's
Let me ask you a different question, Mello. To the extent you have,
I just wanna
yeah,
think.
I get that, but let me ask you a question. So, Ray, you were referring to this show having been done in 2017. My
yeah.
recollection was 2016, but
Well, it's possible.
regardless,
I was looking at the
The
publication
book was
date on the
2017. It was 2016. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 5 years.
yeah. So Mello, from the standpoint of the kind of markings or artwork or graffiti or whatever adjective you would use to describe what you're making out there in these urban spaces, has your style evolved since we were working together in 2016? Are you doing different stuff? And if so, how has it changed?
Yeah, yeah. I've been painting more commercial stuff like restaurants, business, and in my graffiti, you oh for sure. I'm always getting paid. That's the thing, you know. Yeah, so totally.
You say you're doing more commercial work though, aside from the fact that you may be getting paid for it. From the standpoint of your artistic expression, how has that changed? What does the imagery look like now versus then? And why are you doing that?
Well, uh, because I have another degree, like a graffiti. I mean, like a graphic designer. So I think that I know. Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's a good graffiti degree. But I think that's how I learned to sell my work and how to get paid for it. because we have established in Juarez like a real nice range of price for murals now. So you don't have to go to all this creative process and just do the things that you will pay for. And you always need to keep your style. Like I keep on doing graffiti like the ones I present on CoCA, and but that's my style. That's why I prefer. But it's not. That's not for sale. The other things, yeah, we do it.
But one other question, that this is directed both to you, Peter, as well as to you, Mello. Are either of you guys actively
Okay.
in contact with any of the other artists that participated in the JáurezX show?
Yeah, I always take pictures of like I have
Uh,
stickers from the boys. I mean, I'm sure Mello is more because he lives in Ciudad Juarez, but I Facebook with Yorch and Mario, and so I've gotten some of their stickers. And as I've in my various travels, like I just was on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I put a sticker of Mario Romero, who's one of the artists who showed, on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I took a picture of it with the Empire State Building behind it, and same with Mello and Yorch. And so we've been keeping up contacts, but now that I'm no longer in New Mexico, it is quite far away. I think we should have everybody back up to CoCA as soon as possible and do another show.
The idea that groups of artists or collectives might be working to expand one another's audiences by putting their stickers or things all over the world, wherever you go. All of a sudden, it essentially expands everyone's audience.
Yes.
Is that part of the story here? Do you guys, Mello, do that?
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah.
It's very common
Like
practice among bands.
there was this time.
Musical bands do that kind of thing all the time.
Yeah, like from when I was in Seattle to the date, things are. I think they're more internet based. Like we are doing more stuff in the internet that connect us than when we used to do it when Peter came. And like we are producing more stuff so we can post it on social media rather than go to the streets. That's a thing that it's happening in Juarez. Like George now has a bakery, La Panaderia. I don't know if you know about that, Bill.
I see his stuff. I see pictures he posts, and that looks like a great space. And now he's in downtown Juarez, right?
Yeah, and yeah, that's George is doing some good projects there. Always inviting people to paint. Like Mario Romero just did a draw over there, and with Pulso, I keep in touch always. He's doing more too right now, and things like in art in Juarez are like a little slow now because we don't have that much museums, and the things that are open are just open for a little while because of the pandemic problem. So artists are producing more in their workshops and posting those or social media or selling
I
them
think that's
online.
pretty much the same everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I keep in touch with that. Yeah.
How is the pandemic in Ciudad Juarez? How has
But
it
yeah, I'm
been?
always talking to. Well, we don't have work. Like I work on the nightlife, and with the pandemic, you just have, yeah, yeah. I'm doing more video stuff now rather than music. Uh, the Yeah, we need to do more mapping projects, right? I have really good ideas now.
Corona for me, I haven't been, showing much, but when the pandemic hit, I started doing this video project for NHK World, and we were collaborating with people in New York City and Tokyo and here in Seattle, and I was sort of the technician and editor to create these video edits. So this is one way you can share Premiere timelines. You can do Premiere Teams. So if you have Adobe Premiere, that would be one way to collaborate, would be to work on some video projects, and all of us to throw down some edits, and you can mix it up and then produce some content kind of thing. So take some of your arts, take some videos, mix it up, and make edits. That would actually be a way that we could collaborate now. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
because,
that'd be very interesting.
yeah, because you know that I'm always down to travel and visit you, and I mean, I really miss traveling to the United States, and as soon as I can cross and travel, that'd be good. And mix them, collaborate,
Yeah.
will be
I
cool.
should take this opportunity to mention that on CoCA's YouTube page, we have a couple of Peter Bill's videos, his interviews with the artists who were in the show, as well as a few others related to this subject matter. So check those out. And, maybe we can get some more, Peter, if you can get something
Yeah,
going with these guys.
and Mello, I would love to come back to Juarez, maybe not till next winter, but I would love to come back down and spend some time down there working with you guys some more, because I was so, like I said before, I was just so impressed by the quality of painting. In painting, I think in America, a lot of artists are doing conceptual work, and there's conceptual stuff in Ciudad Juarez too, but it's from my graffiti friends, it's so paint centric, and I really enjoyed that. Um, and so coming back, I think it'd be great I mean, Joe, you go to Mexico. I mean, Juarez is an intense city, and it's an intense historical moment. Noam Chomsky wrote a book, and it was called Ciudad Juarez, Laboratory of the Future. And it is maybe a possible future, but the issue with Juarez is just, for our listeners, it was split in half. El Paso was not separated from Juarez, but then when we took half of Mexico in the Mexican American War in the 18th century, 1800s, it was split in half, and so you have this sort of very artificial border, and it's first world, and now all these American factories have moved to Juarez. And you have this huge industry there, like Delta car parts, SanDisk little memory chips are made in Ciudad Juarez, and it's such a strange place because it's right on the border, and everyone sort of pushes up in Mexico to right on the border, and then it's a place of immigrants, Ciudad Juarez, from Mexico and from Central America, and everyone kind of gets. Maybe people are trying to get to the United States, but then they stay in Ciudad Juarez. And so it's a very intense mix. But the issue with the border is, as long as it's first world and versus third world, it's always going to be this conflict and this corruption. There's always going to be narcotraficants when you have people trading drugs across the border, human traffickers. It's created this archipelago, this of private prisons on the American side, the corruption is not just on the Mexican side. The entire border in America, in El Paso and in New Mexico and in California, is completely corrupt because there's all this pressure for people to push across the border, and that just will lead to corruption. And until we bring Mexico up to American living standards, it's always going to be like that. And so the problem with the border is we think about it, oh, look, these refugees from Central America, oh, look, these drugs, there's all these problems, and we think about it like right here, right now, but we have to think about it, what do we want the border to look like in 20 years? And the only way the problems of the border can be solved is if Mexico's standard of living, somehow become, I mean, you can't even envision how could that happen, but make both countries first world, and then there wouldn't be an issue, and there wouldn't be all these conflicts and corruption and horror stories. Ciudad Juárez is one of the most dangerous cities in the whole world, and it's because of this intense pressure that comes with being this border zone between these two very, very economically different places. El Paso is one of the safest cities in North America, and it's because they have a great number of police everywhere. And the crime rate in El Paso is very, very low. So it's a very disjunct place, the border, but that's what makes it so interesting. But we have to solve why all these issues are, and the only way to do that is in a long-term manner.
So, I guess what you're getting at here is that this is a bigger problem than just the current political situation in the U.S. This isn't just caused by people being deported out of this country. It's just a standard of living, the economy, there's these inherent differences that are there that are solving the immigrant crisis is not going to solve these problems. There needs to be bigger solutions than that.
Yeah. Well, so let me just. So Peter, the comment you made, El Paso is the most safe place. I would just hasten to add, if you happen to be a white guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? I mean, in fairness, it is not necessarily safe for certain populations.
Well, there was the Walmart attacks, which were totally racially motivated.
My point. That's my point. So anyway, I get it. There's lots of cops, and they're protecting a lot of white guys. It remains a border town, and I'm not, frankly, holding my breath thinking that there's going to be some kind of a political and economic equilibrium that's going to change things dramatically at that border. But that's a very different question. But to get back to art for a moment, do we still have Mello?
Mello
don't have Mello at the moment.
Okay, because one of the questions I wanted to pose to him was, I mean, the way he's talking now, being essentially commercial as opposed to graffiti, I wonder if he's feeling like a mid-career artist, whether he's feeling like an old guy now, and whether he's in touch with, and whether there exists a brand new crop of younger practitioners, and if so, what does it look like?
Yeah, I was thinking exactly along the same lines, Joe. If we were to mount this show again, would it be the same artists?
I doubt it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go and check it out. He was mentioning that there is a new crew of artists coming up, and they're doing new and different things. I think one thing I've noted is there's a lot more activity actually painting on the border. When we painted Berlin Wall on the border, that got a little bit of press and a little bit that started activating that area where there hadn't been too much activity there, and they've staged a lot of events right specifically. So the border between El Paso and do we have some photos like some of my paintings that just show the border? It'd be cool to put those up if we could.
We don't have that capability right now.
Oh, bummer. Okay. I wish. It's sort of like the LA River. it's like this cement sort of viaduct, and then there's a river which is various heights at different times of year, and there's the border. That's underground, so that's downstairs. That's the spot we were describing earlier.
Bajo el manto más hermoso, las estrellas, es mi frontera bella, Juárez, ciudad de las bajas pasiones. Sé que muchos ya no tienen.
That's close to this Mall of America place, which is like this. There's the border right there. So it's like this cement viaduct. So it's this controlled stream that's like that's an offshoot of the Rio Grande kind of thing, because that's where the river is going. And so that little stream there is the border. And so on one side, all the Mexican graffiti artists have put up murals and tags and stuff. And then on the American side, it's, you know, military. It's like Berlin Wall. There's a wall. There's guards marching through there. There are people, you know, driving their ICE vehicles and stuff. And so when I was down there, it was just before I was already pretty militarized, but under Trump, I think that must have become turbocharged. And so that's one thing Mello mentioned to me, is the border has become much more locked down and much more restricted kind of a thing, because it has become like this DMZ. That's what Trump was trying to do, is turn it into some sort of DMZ zone. And so, in fact, by doing that, you just sort of make all the problems worse. You know, that's kind of the issue.
Let me ask our producer, John, have we heard from Mello since we lost him?
Let me try and text him.
Okay, we don't have Mello at the moment. We'd love to have him back, but he's maybe having some technical difficulties right now.
Oh, he says I'm on it.
He's on it. Okay, he's working on it.
Okay,
all right. Let me take this opportunity, since we're approaching the 1 hour mark here, to let people know that in a sense we're continuing this conversation next month on June 30th. We'll be talking about the CoCA show and catalog, Unsanctioned, with 13 Pacific Northwest contemporary urban artists, graffiti and mural artists as well, that we presented at CoCA in 2011. So we're coming back around to that. Maybe pick this conversation up and talk about the other side of the coin. It was very interesting to me that what Mello is talking about how his work has become more commercial, and you know, that mimics or that echoes in some ways, you know, the artists that we had in the other show, which is that I know of a lot of them have become you know, I guess what you call legitimate mural artists now, getting paid for their work. So, well, like I said, some of this will be continued, at least these topics, on June 30th on the CoCA YouTube channel, from a different perspective, with our co-curators there, Jody Nelson and Michelle Osborne, and possibly, well, we're pretty sure John Osborne as well, talk about both his graffiti work and now his mural work.
Nice.
Well, Ray, let me just take a moment to thank you for taking the initiative to not just do what you're doing currently, but what underlies it, which is the whole catalog initiative. While CoCA over its history has produced several catalogs, including at the very outset, it certainly has not done so consistently. And you really spearheaded the initiative to do it far more consistently. And I think it really adds a great deal to advancing CoCA's mission and to making not just CoCA more relevant, but I think it helps all participating artists. It helps all curators that participate. It helps all critics that write essays for them. It helps art historians that are doing research. And it got a little feedback here.
Something is going on with Mello's audio there.
Going under.
Well, Joe, you know, part of the, as I said earlier, part of the reason for this show, for this CoCA Book Club and these interviews, is to call attention to the fact that, you know, the books have a longevity that the exhibitions can't have all by themselves. And not only do they extend the time frame that an exhibition has, can continue to contact the public and our audience, but it also has the opportunity to extend the subject matter. We get people to write to the things that you don't go to a gallery expecting to stand there and read for a while. You might read a few tags and some explanations, but we have the opportunity to expand what happens in the gallery into the catalog. I prefer these days to call them publications or books, because a catalog to me is, well, here's what was in the show, but we've taken it beyond that. We're trying to expand upon that. And now with these interviews, continue to explore the relevancy of these issues that were brought up by the exhibition.
Essentially provides proof of how relevant the show was at the time at which it was produced. Like, what has happened? Was our proposition on target or not?
It was.
How have things evolved?
Yeah, well, Mello's back. If we want to get some last words from him before we sign off.
Lose him again.
Before we lose him again.
Mello, are you feeling like a mid-career artist now? And are there younger people coming up doing the graffiti stuff that you started? Are you in touch with them? And if so, what are they making? How are they behaving versus how you and your colleagues did?
Well, they have it easy now because
Kids, yeah. Kids
You
today.
took the bullet.
yeah, they have, because we open all these spaces for them. They don't have to worry about the police and running. They can paint free, That's a good thing for new generations, that we have open new
But can they
spaces.
be real graffiti artists that way? Can they be real graffiti artists?
Oh no! If they come to me and ask my permission, they're not real graffiti. But there are ones that are bootlegging my logo, and that's that's weird, but it's like an inspiration for me, because I don't know, it feels good. And yeah, new generations will make it better, because they know the techniques, new techniques, new materials. Yeah, it's easy for them. We used to get beat off by the police or the neighbors, and now they just can go and paint and say that Mello sent them.
Well, thanks for that, Mello, and thanks for being with us tonight. I'm gonna close this out. We're at the end of our hour. What we're going to do is that we're going to roll the credits, and we're going to keep the YouTube channel open. And if you want to go to cocaseattle.org, or I'm sorry, youtube.org/CoCA and we can continue to chat there in the chat room, which is associated right next to the video. That way we can see if there's maybe any listeners who might have some questions for us, comments. So anybody who wants to join us at the youtube.com/CoCA, the listeners are already there. So when we sign off, each of us, we can go there and have a look and see if maybe any of our fans are hanging out there. All right. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you guys doing this technological experiment with me tonight. We'll see what kind of bugs we can iron out for next time. And we'll see you on the other side. John, let's roll those credits.
All right, guys. See you soon.
Okay.
Hey, Mello, let's do some video.
Puentes que conducen a ese sueño americano. Las dunas son la entrada de muchos de los paisas. Maquila es lo que esperan, maquila es lo que hayan. Centros de madrugada, lucían en abundancia. Y al
We're
alcanzar un
offline,
cuota,
and we
por
can
eso
continue
prenden
talking here
llamas.
without
Mientras en el
hearing
gabacho
us,
bien
but
cinchados a
it'd be
la
great
chamba.
if we could get
Unos
over
pagan la
to
renta, otros quieren nueva rampa. Rascarla en la
I know
rutina,
there is
sin
some- I know
rajarle
there's
ven
some
la
viewers
plica.
over there.
Cadena imperialista, todos están en la
And-
lista. Las ciudades
well, I
bonitas,
guess
si
it won't
comparas la
affect us
vecina,
too much,
todos
but
dirán que eres
we're not-
linda. Muchos guardan postura porque temen a
I'm gonna
las
sign
cifras,
off
te
and
graban
go focus
delinquiendo y de
on that
seguro
for a
te
little bit.
aterrizan.
See you guys
Lugar
later.
de la estampilla pa' que comas su comida.
Yeah, you can
También de
sit
la
down
milicia
here.
con ventajas
No, now.
exquisitas, con guerras infinitas, con rutinas dominantes. Esto es de la frontera, te lo suelto en ambas partes.
Del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza. Es que en mi Juárez la vida sí que se goza, en los antros, en los bares, en los billares, en donde quiera que te pares. Empezamos party cuando cae el sol, seguimos after hasta que amaneció.
Pues ¿sabe qué, gay? Yo apañé el rufo allá en Los Ve y me descolgué pa' Juariles, ¿sabe? Quedé de jarioso y me fui a un rest, ¿sabe? Y me pregunta una ruca que si que quiero de rap y le digo yo, esa, pues tráigame unas de lámina con unos de cemento. Pues escamó de abute la ruca y le llamó la jura, pues me entabicaron. En Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, frontera del Paso, Texas, se encontraron dos carnales encerrados tras la reja.
Bajo el manto más hermoso, las estrellas, es mi frontera bella, Juárez, ciudad de las bajas pasiones. Sé que muchos ya no tienen pantalones para pisar tu suelo, porque dicen que es como un anzuelo, pero mi consuelo es saber, existe gente con el anhelo de crecer, no perecer, sin antes dejar una historia. Del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza, fumándome uno de la pestosa, ya sabes cómo es la cosa con este cholo, fin de semana, entre municipales, federales, judiciales, soldados y una lista de ejecutados, viernes en la frontera norte otra vez, vistiendo con mis carnales y unas que otras amistades, no hay que temer si no debes nada, no estás adentro, no habrá emboscadas, el problema está entre ellos, solo ven a disfrutar, tener momentos de aquellos que dejen un buen recuerdo de nuestro sello, orgullosamente fronterizo, más mexicano, demostrando el talento lírico, el visual, mi hermano, arte urbano desde el 97, no quede ni una duda, cada vez somos más gente, del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza.
Frontera hermosa, calor mezclado, desde el sur también el norte se le nota en los hablados. El rey ya no es tan bravo, los bravos son los migras que disparan a la raza y celebran puntería de ciertos fil. Clima extremo con población de marfil, guerreros y familias dispuestos a subsistir. Puro borde y hasta el fin, esto es la línea divisoria que cultiva para ti. Si es expresar, expandir, siéntete parte del I, porque pase lo que pase, mi esencia se queda aquí, donde detienen transeúntes para quitarle los gastos, lugar en que la raza da el paso pa'l gabacho. Casas de cambio, burritos y hamburguesas de 10 varos, puentes que conducen a ese sueño americano. Las dunas son la entrada de muchos de los paisas, maquila es lo que esperan, maquila es lo que hayan. Centros de madrugada, lucían en abundancia, ya no alcanzaron cuota, por eso prenden llamas. Mientras en el gabacho bien cinchados a la chamba, unos pagan la renta, otros quieren nueva ranfla, rascarla en la rutina sin rajarle ven aplica. Cadena imperialista, todos están en la lista. Las ciudades bonitas, si comparas la vecina, todos dirán que eres linda. Muchos guardan postura porque temen a las cifras, te graban delinquiendo y de seguro te aterrizan. Lugar de la estampilla pa' que comas tu comida, también de la milicia con ventajas exquisitas, con guerras infinitas, con rutinas dominantes. Esto es de la frontera, te lo suelto en ambas partes.
Del paso Juárez, de Juárez al paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza. Es que en mi Juárez la vida sí que se goza, en los antros, en los bares, en los billares, en donde quiera que te pares. Empezamos party cuando cae el sol, seguimos after hasta que amaneció.
Pues ¿sabe qué, gay? Yo apañé el rufo allá en Los Ve y me descolgué pa' Juariles, ¿sabe? Quedé de jarioso y me fui a un rest, ¿sabe? Y me pregunta una ruca que si que quiero de rap y le digo yo, esa, pues tráigame unas de lámina con unos de cemento. Pues escamó de abute la ruca y le llamó la jura, pues centavicaron. En Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, frontera del Paso, Texas, se encontraron dos carnales encerrados tras la reja.
Bajo el manto más hermoso, las estrellas, es mi frontera bella, Juárez, ciudad de las bajas pasiones. Sé que muchos ya no tienen pantalones para pisar tu suelo, porque dicen que es como un anzuelo, pero mi consuelo es saber, existe gente con el anhelo de crecer, no perecer, sin antes dejar una historia. Del Paso Juárez, de Juárez al Paso, estos son mis trazos, firmes mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza, fumándome uno de la pestosa, ya sabes cómo es la cosa con este cholo, fin de semana, entre municipales, federales, judiciales, soldados y una lista de ejecutados, viernes en la frontera norte otra vez, asistiendo con mis carnales y unas que otras amistades, no hay que temer si no debes nada, no estás adentro, no habrá emboscadas, el problema está entre ellos, solo ven a disfrutar, tener momentos de aquellos que dejen un buen recuerdo de nuestro sello, orgullosamente fronterizo, más mexicano, demostrando el talento lírico, el visual mi hermano, arte urbano desde el 97, no quede ni una duda, cada vez somos más gente, del Paso Juárez, de Juárez al Paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza.
Frontera hermosa, caló mezclado, desde el sur también el norte se le nota en los hablados, el río ya no es tan bravo, los bravos son los migras que disparan a la raza y celebran puntería de ciertos hostil, clima extremo con población de marfil, guerreros y familias dispuestos a subsistir, puro borde y hasta el fin, esto es la línea divisoria que cultiva para ti. Si es expresar, expandir, siéntete parte del I, porque pase lo que pase, mi esencia se queda aquí, donde detienen transeúntes para quitarle los gastos, lugar en que la raza da el paso pa'l gabacho, casas de cambio, burritos y hamburguesas de 10 varos, puentes que conducen a ese sueño americano, las dunas son la entrada de muchos de los paisas, maquila es lo que esperan, maquila es lo que hayan, centros de madrugada, lucían en abundancia, ya no alcanzaron cuota, por eso prenden llamas, mientras en el gabacho bien cinchados a la chamba, unos pagan la renta, otros quieren nueva ranfla, rascarla en la rutina sin rajarle, ven aplica, cadena imperialista, todos están en la lista, la ciudad es bonita, si comparas la vecina, todos dirán que eres linda. Muchos guardan postura porque temen a las cifras, te graban delinquiendo y de seguro te aterrizan, lugar de la estampilla pa' que comas tu comida, también de la milicia con ventajas exquisitas, con guerras infinitas, con rutinas dominantes, esto es de la frontera, te lo suelto en ambas partes.
Del Paso Juárez, de Juárez al Paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza, es que en mi Juárez la vida sí que se goza, en los antros, en los bares, en los billares, en donde quiera que te pares, empezamos party cuando cae el sol, seguimos after hasta que amaneció.
Pues ¿sabe qué, gay? Yo apañé el rufo allá en Los Ve y me descolgué pa' Juariles, ¿sabe? Quedé de jarioso y me fui a un rest, ¿sabe? Y me pregunta una ruca que si que quiero de rap y le digo yo, esa, pues tráigame unas de lámina con unos de cemento. Pues escamó de abute la ruca y le llamó la jura, pues centavicaron. En Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, frontera del Paso, Texas, se encontraron dos carnales encerrados tras la reja.
Bajo el manto más hermoso, las estrellas, es mi frontera bella, Juárez, ciudad de las bajas pasiones. Sé que muchos ya no tienen pantalones para pisar tu suelo, porque dicen que es como un anzuelo, pero mi consuelo es saber, existe gente con el anhelo de crecer, no perecer, sin antes dejar una historia. Del Paso Juárez, de Juárez al Paso, estos son mis trazos, firme mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza, fumándome uno de la pestosa, ya sabes cómo es la cosa con este cholo, fin de semana, entre municipales, federales, judiciales, soldados y una lista de ejecutados, viernes en la frontera norte otra vez, pisteando con mis carnales y unas que otras amistades, no hay que temer si no debes nada, no estás adentro, no habrá emboscadas, el problema está entre ellos, solo ven a disfrutar, tener momentos de aquellos que dejen un buen recuerdo de nuestro sello, orgullosamente fronterizo, más mexicano, demostrando el talento lírico, el visual, mi hermano, arte urbano desde el 97, no quede ni una duda, cada vez somos más gente, del Paso Juárez, de Juárez al Paso, estos son mis trazos, firmen mis pasos, de regreso por el puente Zaragoza.
Frontera hermosa, calor mezclado, desde el sur también el norte se le nota en los hablados, el rey ya no es tan bravo, los bravos son los migras que disparan a la raza y celebran puntería de ciertos hostil, clima extremo con población de marfil, guerreros y familias dispuestos a subsistir, puro borde y hasta el fin. Esto es la línea divisoria que cultiva para ti. Si es expresar, expandir, siéntete parte del I, porque pase lo que pase, mi esencia se queda aquí, donde detienen transeúntes para quitarle los gastos, lugar en que la raza da el paso pa'l